4.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, oh Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Hare.
From the ethereal realm of devotion to the practicality of daily spiritual practice, across the vast landscape of Vedic wisdom and teachings, this is Vaishnava Voices. Hosted by the dynamic husband and wife duo, Sitapati Das and Dana Devi, they bring to you an intimate exploration of the vibrant world of Vaishnavism. Interweaving ancient scriptures with modern contexts, personal stories with universal lessons, they illuminate the path of love, devotion, and conscious living.
Hare Krishna, and welcome everyone to another episode of Vaishnava Voices. I'm your co-host, Sitapati Das, and beside me, as always, is the wonderful Dana Devi. Today, as with every episode, we're diving deep into the heart of Vaishnava teachings, exploring the wisdom, culture, and practices that guide us towards a life filled with devotion and service.
That's right, Sitapati. We are thrilled to have you on this journey with us. Whether you are a seasoned devotee, a spiritual seeker, or simply curious about Vaishnavism, here in Vaishnava Voices, we are all about fostering connection, understanding, and growth. And remember, we are not just exploring, we are also experiencing. So let's begin.
So sit back, prepare your hearts and minds, and tune into the sounds of the soul on Vaishnava Voices.
Hare Krishna, and welcome to all our viewers today, tonight, whatever time it is, wherever you are watching. My name is Sitapati Das.
And my name is Dana Devi.
And I'm coming live from Seattle, Washington. And this is the first time we've ever done this format in two different locations. Normally we're sitting next to each other.
No.
I'm not sure who's the host and who's the guest.
Well, we can play both.
We haven't been publishing any episodes of the podcast over the last month or so, maybe a bit more than a month, because it's summer in New Zealand, and so we have a lot of hours of daylight there, and we'll be getting stuck in at the farm and moving things forward there. But we do have some episodes and guests lined up coming up, so we're going to make the most of the sun shines is the saying. So we're going to keep doing that, and then we'll be back with regularly scheduled programming a bit later. But today is a special report live from Seattle, Washington, where I am right now in the Pacific Northwest, where it's 9 o'clock at night.
I don't even know what's the time here. I didn't 5.
It should be 6 p.m. It should be about to hit 6.
Oh no, yes,
p.m.
6.
Yeah, in the future. So you're a day ahead and 3 hours behind. So it's
I'm
9
always-
o'clock Monday night. It's 6 o'clock Tuesday night there.
Correct. Yes.
Crazy. It's still International Chess Day over here in America, Monday.
I know, Monday.
Yes, Seattle.
Yeah. We say retrasados in Spanish.
Retrasados.
Sí.
Retardados.
That also can be added.
Yeah. Retardados. Extremely late.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm in
Yes.
Seattle. First time I've ever been here. Seattle, of course, is the birthplace of Starbucks. So I saw the Starbucks store downtown in the middle of town, CBD. It's got 1971 on the wall. I don't know if it's the original shop, but that's where it opened.
Oh, wow.
And the other thing about Seattle that you may not know,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I shared this with you, but in June of 2020, there was a massive protest and then like an occupation here in Seattle. In the exact place where I'm staying in Capitol Hill, which is kind of a bohemian type kind of area.
Right.
And yeah, what happened was that the police abandoned the Eastern Precinct headquarters to try to de-escalate the situation, apparently. And then protesters just took over the area and turned it into, first it was called the Capitol Hill Occupation Protest, CHOP, and then they named it the Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone, CHAZ. Do you know anything about that?
No.
No? Okay, I'll show you a couple of videos about it.
Okay.
So you can get a sense of it. Now, at the time, June 2020, early in the whole pandemic thing, I watched it every day on Twitter. And I watched a couple of things I saw there was people were streaming from their phones, and they set up cameras in there. So I could watch, everything that was happening. And then I'd also watch the mainstream media coverage. And I saw things like, film crews being like, yeah, the police are here, and the tear gas and the protesters, and then people were shooting it on Twitter, and it was literally just the police and the camera crews from the press in an empty street faking the whole thing.
Oh, wow.
And you could see the angle from the people who were inside the CHAZ, demonstrating it. Oh, what's that thumbs up bubble that just came up on there?
Yeah, I saw that one. Oh, is it a new feature?
New feature. Yeah. So apparently I can, let me do this. I can share a video. So
Let's do that.
I put them on my Facebook profile. I got two different ones here. I got this one.
Put the controversial one.
Okay.
Put the controversial one.
Well, hang on. I'll put this one first, right? So if I go back to here, and then I'm going to go present, and then I'm going to go share screen, and then I say inside CHAZ. Here we go. Also share tab audio. All right. You see it? Okay,
Yep.
here we go.
We're not fighting the military. We're not trying to secede from the United States. If we do, then we're losing all the progress we're actually trying to make.
Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone, CHAZ. So I'm in Capitol Hill right now.
My name's Noah. This is my first day manning the daytime barricade. I ran the nighttime barricade. We are not at all really like how people are saying. We don't stop anyone from coming in. We don't, pat people down. We just let people come in and just be who they want to be.
So once you walk through the barricades, as anyone is freely allowed to do, you'll see an atmosphere of people kind of just walking around.
We're moving in legality, and there's a lot of people who want to change the narrative to something that would make what we're doing illegal. We are not doing anything illegal. We are protesters. And so every day we have to get up and correct what someone did wrong or tried to establish or tagged all over the place or the headlines that don't make sense. There's so much of that it actually deters, because then the type of people who come reflect the new narrative that's being spread online. So then we have people who are being agitators or aggressors or anarchists who want to fuck shit up. And that goes against what we're doing or why we're here completely. And we are not going to allow the conditions of people who want to detract from our mission to stop us from getting the equity or the leverage of the rights that we have.
One of the more central areas of the Black Lives Matter movement here in Seattle. You can see behind me, there's a very large mural that's now covering the street. Look around. You see families and children. A lot of music going on. There's a lot of live music at night. There's free coffee. There are medical tents.
Sound familiar?
There is the No Cop Co-op where everything is free.
We're getting supplies from everyday people. We're getting supplies from people with means. So it's definitely a movement by the people for the people.
I'm standing here kind of where everyone is camping. It's a pretty heavily occupied area. Close to maybe 100 tents. The center of this is the garden area.
So this is about giving Black people ownership of the land, allowing them to build their own self-sustainable communities, build their own economic system. This one in particular is we're trying to create space for BIPOC, so Black, Indigenous, people of color, to come and garden together and just create relationships. 2020 has been an interesting year of creating a lot of situations where people are kind of forced to rethink how they live their lives. And, we couldn't have asked for a better situation to, I think a better time for this movement to occur. The ground was right.
Back into the protest area of Cal Anderson, where a lot of people are hanging out, waiting for the events of the night to get started.
CHAZ Trop is not Coachella. There's still a lot of work to be done, and there's still a lot of things that still need to happen before we just start lounging around and start relaxing. I put this event on specifically because I wanted to touch on that, but also make sure that we're highlighting Black, Indigenous, and people of color voices.
Let these songs get something to your spirit. Not your ears, not what you hear with, but what you feel with. Come on. Come on.
Now, there's been a lot of talk about this place. They said we're out here to party. Nothing could be further from the truth. We are out here to come and rejuvenate and network and build as people to come and do something better. We are proving that right here in Seattle, the world can change.
So I spent every single day hours and hours and hours inside CHAZ, following people who are streaming on Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
And so it really informed me about what was coming in New Zealand and what was possible there, and also the kinds of things that we would be dealing with, because I got to also get a good read on crisis actors and provocations and staged events for the media, for them to control the narrative. So there's two sides to the narrative, right? Now I'm going to show you the other side.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let me pull it up. Hang on. Got too many open tabs here, y'all. Okay, here's the other side. Now this one is it's 3 years after CHOP, so this happened four months ago. But this shows I watched these events happening live when they happened. Okay, ready? Here we go.
Weathered, beaten, abandoned. If you squint long enough through the locks and the chain link fence, you'll see John McDermott and the small business he built over more than 2 decades.
It just became an unsafe, location to run a business.
Correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, you were sleeping there because you were worried about your business.
Correct.
That chaotic month in 2020 that led to the abandonment of the Seattle Police East Precinct and creation of the autonomous zone in a 5-block area of Capitol Hill, leaving McDermott to literally fend for himself a block away from the CHOP. No one responded to more than a couple dozen 911 calls.
Our building, was broken into and was lit on fire, and the guy, tried to cut my son's leg open and stab him. The fire department was sitting literally at the corner of the block, but they couldn't come in because the Seattle Police Department wouldn't come in. If you dial 911, what do you expect to have happen? Where are the tax dollars, that we're paying to the city?
That is why he and multiple business owners sued the city in 2020 to close the CHOP, which the city settled earlier this year for $3.6 million. Even though the scars remain, Seattle has now spent $12 million on legal fees and payouts related to the inaction that resulted in 2 deaths, 4 shootings, arson, and several alleged sexual assaults. A sense of lawlessness that dots the neighborhood to this day, with graffiti, boarded up windows, release signs, and continues to prompt new lawsuits just filed this month over lost revenue and emotional damages. Have you had any of those concerns since you've been here in
No, not
December
at all.
2022?
When this happened, of course, I was aware of it on the national news.
Mike Julian is the general manager for 5 Iron Golf.
No concerns, no issues, and I don't feel like that any day.
His company invested hundreds of thousands of dollars to create a virtual gaming paradise in the old Value Village space, teeing off in the former CHOP zone in 2022.
So, yeah, it is a big swing, but I think it's really the right swing.
He believes it can be an engine for redevelopment. Although McDermott is skeptical and thinks back to a selfie taken during those turbulent days by 4 sitting city council members. An emotional toll, a physical toll.
Yep. Financial toll.
Financial toll. What's the legacy, do you think?
Sadly, the legacy is that, the current sitting city council, simply put, they just destroyed the city of Seattle. They were elected to manage our city and to cause business to thrive, to cause safety to thrive. The government's here to protect and to serve the people, and not just their selected few that they want to protect and serve.
It is why he said goodbye to that old lot near the East Precinct, where he put in more than just elbow grease for years.
I'm 100% sad. Kind of what we found for us is that we were, essentially starting over.
And moved his car tender auto shop to Shoreline, far away from Capitol Hill, and the business that was built and then torn apart during that 1 month in June. In Seattle, Chris Daniels, Como News.
Mm-hmm.
So there, the shots that they use there show the other side, flames, like police and protesters, the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so I saw the 2 sides of the narrative. And so I knew there was going to be a 2-sided narrative generated in Wellington when we were there.
Mm-hmm.
I knew there were going to be provocations. I also knew from having watched CHAZ the power of the social media streaming, and that we needed to get the chanting of the holy name onto absolutely everything. So if we just were wherever the action was happening and we're chanting, it was just going to go out like crazy. Yeah. So CHAZ, the Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone, and the CHOP, the Capitol Hill occupation protest, informed what happened in 2022. So almost, it was kind of like a year and a half, 18 months later that our protest happened in New Zealand. And I'd learned from analyzing CHAZ and CHOP.
Yeah. I guess also the government, here in New Zealand was picking up all of those details to run the same zine here in New Zealand because it's quite similar, the way how everything come up in on the protest.
Mm-hmm.
The good guys, the bad guys,
Mm-hmm.
and like how infuriated are some people about the protests, and they're filthy and they are disturbing our transport business and so and so, when in reality it was just like a few blocks blocked, and people were so happy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and the end is quite similar to what happened there, and the flames and police and people being upset, and they try to create that environment where people upsetting people, um, triggering people, and steering people up. I would say that. Yeah.
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 So I had actually forgotten about CHAZ and CHOP.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was coming here to Seattle, and I had a stopover in Vancouver, and I was talking with the guys on the Being Superhuman weekly call, and I was like, I don't actually know why I'm going to Seattle. I know what my cover story is, but I don't know what my actual mission is there. And then I got here and I find out that I'm staying in Capitol Hill. I'm like right next to the CHAZ.
Mm-hmm.
And so I thought I'll do a pilgrimage to the area of the Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone today. And so I'm heading over there, and then I just notice on my Google Maps, it says that Bruce Lee's grave is there.
Mm-hmm.
On the other side of what was the Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone. So
Right.
I went to Bruce Lee's grave, and then it turns out that it's his birthday today. And so there's
Happy birthday.
yeah. Wherever you are, there was a documentary film crew there shooting a documentary about it. And there was an older man there, and you heard the conversation I had with him. He lives across the road from the cemetery, and he goes over there most days. And he was just there welcoming people and just telling them that, hey, today's Bruce Lee's birthday.
Wow.
And I asked him, I
Go
said,
ahead.
were you here during the Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone, CHOP? And he said to me, yeah, I've lived here most of my life, so I was definitely here when that happened.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, yeah, I participated. I spent a lot of time directing traffic because,
Wow.
the police withdrew, so there were no police here, so we had to do everything ourselves. So I was like, in charge of directing traffic a lot. And I said, yeah, I watched it from New Zealand, and it became very influential and inspirational for our New Zealand 2022 Parliament occupation.
Mm.
And I also said, it just goes to show that people they can be self-organizing, and that people are fundamentally good.
Yeah, definitely. In those situations, where you have to be use your independence and autonomy, that's the time that people become more enthusiastic, more empowered, because they are choosing to do that, and they want to do something good for themselves and the community, and they feel more inspired. They have more energy to do that, and they are not afraid to go beyond the limits of their own physical and emotional well-being. Yeah, or barrier, or whatever you want to call it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
CHAZ, CHOP.
Right.
I had mixed kind of, because at the time that it was happening, see, I learned the tactical lessons from it, like what it looks like on the ground, how the media manipulation and management of the media representation works, and then also the power of the social media streaming from the event, and the sort of but yeah, I had forgotten about it by the time the thing rolled around. I was just deep in it, but I can see now how deeply it informed my participation and contribution in Wellington.
It was in your subconscious.
Oh yeah, powerfully in my subconscious.
Yeah.
Like I was awake. It was so emotionally, but at the time I wasn't sure how to take it, because I was like, I was watching things that were being faked, and I was like, is the whole thing fake? Like, what's actually happening here? But like you saw some of those people there, and you saw the spirit of the people.
Yeah.
That's not just like a bunch of like anarchists who, hate order, and that was like there was the spirit of the people was there. Just like it was in Wellington.
Like in the video you just put it about, what was his name, Marcos? I think the guy was saying like creating a community, and
and also he was the guy who was talking about having to address the media misrepresentations. You remember that there was that lady, I can't remember her name, but she has quite a lot of speaking role in River of Freedom, and she was doing the same thing. And every day she'd be given, a whole bunch of media claims, and they would debunk them. And one of them was that there was just all this rubbish piling up. And
yes,
that?
Yeah.
That was exactly the same thing in Wellington as well. For Marcus, yeah.
And the about the gardening thing, putting or bringing the indigenous people to do the community gardening and self-sufficiency. The gentleman I was talking, it's quite similar to what's happening or starting to happen in the parliament or in the protest. Where people were just doing the tiny little gardens and naming them. It was quite cute, and they were quite like up to. They were quite a. Way ahead of their time when they're presenting why they're doing that to self-sufficiency, and because not many people are thinking about becoming self-sufficient or being self-sufficient. They're more into like the conformity of what they have, paying your rent, living in this pigeonhole, which is basically buildings of 20 or 15 floor, and just take away food, going back home, turning the TV on and just watching TV until a few whatever hours, going like that, kind of like ordinary routine. There is no more than that. So, and there is not much to that. It is just their life. But these people were beyond that, thinking beyond, like we have to become self-sufficient, we have to bring people together, we have to do things together. So it requires many more people to be informed about it, like the possibility of your life becoming different than just living in lifestyle.
Well, it's interesting that, hey, Michael McNeish, he says, Hari means he who takes everything away.
Yeah, I know.
And so, until people had everything taken away from them, they're comfortable and they're invested. It's like, who wants to, go and live in a tent in a field for a year? Who wants to do that? But when your alternative options become so bleak, you're confronted with that, then you're like, okay, I need to do it. Austerity means voluntarily accepting inconvenience for a higher cause. That's how Srila Prabhupada defines austerity. Voluntarily accepting, embracing inconvenience for a higher cause. That's austerity. So performance of austerities, the pandemic has forced a lot of people into that. That's the thing.
And it's a good thing. I was hearing a podcast. I don't know who was talking about this, but even there was in the perspective of psychology, like going out of your comfort zone, you start developing a different perspective, different strengths, and that will influence your relationships in life, not only with yourself as who you are, what your values are, and discovery of who you are in a person, and for yourself and the community or people that you are involved with. So during the protest, definitely, many people have those like deep insights of themselves. Wow, I wasn't able to, I didn't know I was able to do this. I didn't know that I was so strong to go through this, because it was quite hard, being minimized and being demonized and, being insulted and degraded with whatever words the many some of the not prime ministers, but the what do you call them?
The ministers, the politicians.
Many politicians, some of the ministers, it's like, and even with that, whatever they were going through inside themselves, whatever they're dealing with, they will have to deal with someone else who were in the leadership position, and they were still strong. They were still like friendly. They were still like kind. They were perhaps inside they were dying and suffering, but still they were able to bring all the best they have in themselves.
Yes.
Yeah, and that is the austerity. You say, like, I'm going through whatever limits I have, and there is something else resurfacing in my life, and I'm able to do more than I thought I could do. And it's nice to see that in people. It's really nice. It's like a self-discovery, Yeah.
Yeah, so I have a lot of love for our whānau, our family, from ProFest. We lived together there for 3 weeks, and we sang together, we ate together, we slept together.
Slept together. Be careful when you say that.
Yeah, well, we all slept there in the marae.
Oh yeah.
And we faced adversity together. And so I have a lot of love for our ProFest family, and I find that extends out to the participants of the Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone. And at the time in 2020 when I was watching it, I wasn't sure what I was watching. I wasn't, because you saw the two sides of that story, right? I wasn't sure who I was rooting for, who I was cheering for, what was going on. I did see that it was being orchestrated, and the media representation of it was being definitely orchestrated. But I didn't know who I was rooting for. But now that I'm back here and I'm looking at it and understanding how it fits together with ProFest, I have that same love and appreciation and acknowledgement for the participants at the Capitol Hill occupation protest.
So that you see, you develop the sense of like a compassion, sense of a partnership, understanding, and respect.
Yeah.
And because you were there, you lived the experience, you suffer, the pain and the struggles, and you've been through the uncomfortable situation. And when you see them like that, it's basically you got this connection of like, I know I've been through that, and I know they've gone through that. So you have this level of compassion, empathy, and also respect towards these people, because it takes a lot of strength and courage to be the small group and fight for your rights, fight for what is correct or right in this life.
Yeah. So I have like a kind of a mixed, this is to the second topic, that this is the gayest city I've ever been in. Like, that meme, there's like this little kid in school and this guy's yelling at him and it says, I said, we gay today. Like they're just forcing this down. Man, there are so many gay pride, trans pride, queer, BIPOC, flags, like just literally everywhere. The pet store, the bank, everywhere. Big posters of drag queens. And then it's incredible to me to see the demasculinization of the men here. It's incredible. Like unreal. It's just even difficult for me to describe it, but I see like not just like one couple or anything, but like the general sense of it in the Seattle CBD area. So I've been over to Chinatown, into the CBD, up Capitol Hill, up to the Volunteer Park. And like I see these couples, and I'm like, for sure that guy is gay. Like he's like it's like this woman is out with her girlfriend. Like she's got a gay friend, but I'm looking at them and I'm like, no, that's her boyfriend. But he's like he's like one of her girlfriends, but like a gay guy, super feminized, wearing makeup, the whole thing, dangly earrings and everything. And I'm just like, okay, so this is a whole thing. Like it's huge. And then
Right.
even I see the guys who look like the Seattle outdoors guy, because Seattle is kind of like it's got a real outdoorsy kind of like vibe. Like
Mhm.
there's like, I don't know I can't remember what the name of the company is. Maybe it's North Face or something. It's kind of like Kathmandu is in New Zealand, the outdoors kind of brand. And it's
Mhm.
from Seattle. Because Seattle's got like a whole outdoors culture, it's on the border of Canada and, close to Canada, whatever. Yeah, there's a whole outdoorsy kind of thing here, people riding bikes, hiking, that kind of stuff. But even those guys, like I'm watching them walking around with their girlfriend or whatever. He's got his hands in his pockets. She's got her hands in her pockets, like they're equal and they're walking around, and like he's not like, hey, we're going to go do this or anything. He's kind of like, oh, what should we do type thing. Now, you could say that the thing about it is that there is a spectrum of like masculinity and femininity, and we all, male and female, have both aspects and a blend, etc., etc. And you could say there's nothing objective about this, but I have an observation from being here that lends me towards something else. I'm kind of like a libertarian, you do your thing. And then if you see a picture of me at the Wellington protest, what am I wearing? I put it as the thumbnail on this thing. Let me share it. A picture that shows you what I was wearing here. If I go all the way down to the bottom here,
Mhm.
not that one. I'm going to change this view to icons. Here we go. Let's go all the way down to the beginning. I've got to order them by the, not the name, but by the date added. Yeah. Oh man. Am I going to be able to bring this up? I should be able to do it.
Mm.
It's a picture of me at Profest, and it's or I had one of me and Tulsi. Anyway, I'm wearing a pink dhoti and a rainbow top, right? I'm wearing this this thing that looks like a skirt, basically, and it's pink. And I'm wearing this like rainbow colored top. So people are going to look at that, and it's like, I'm a libertarian, people, you do your individual self-expression.
Pardon me.
But there's a thing going on here where everybody's like getting like into this, and I don't want to say it's a problem, but I think it's a problem.
Mm.
Here's why I think it's a problem. You want to know why?
What?
Here's my grounding for saying that it's a problem.
Mm-hmm.
I posted on Facebook the other day. Nobody's going to tell you this, but a woman is not happy with a feminized man.
No, it's not attractive. Oof.
And the reason why I posted that is because I'm walking around here and I'm just observing people, and I see these couples together, and then I see the look that the woman gives me, and I'm like, oh man. Huh?
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I mean,
going.
that look is like, that woman is not happy with that guy. She is open to, you know, she's like they are like they're not happy with these guys. And that like on a large scale.
Right. Okay. Can you say more about why you think they are not happy? So we can understand you where you're coming from.
You know, I travel to various places around the world in various kind of different environments and stuff, and I see people all the time, you know. And then every now and then you'll see, you know, someone who'll like send you some kind of signal like she's interested or something, right? Because for whatever reason. But here it is crazy. Okay, let me put it to you another way. You know, we live in rural New Zealand, right? And I come from the city. You know, I've never been like the manliest kind of man, you know, out there like building houses with my bare hands and, you know, wrestling grizzly bears, you know, that kind of thing. I mean, I'm you know, I'm kind of handy and I can do things and stuff. But you know, you go out into rural New Zealand where people are living on farms and stuff and having to rely on themselves, and you know, they don't go down to the shop to buy something, they make it, you know, or fix it. So I'm kind of like, you know, understandably, I feel a little bit like not insecure, but yeah, okay, insecure. You know, about like, you know, oh, here's this like kind of soft towny, you know, in contrast to like these kind of rugged individualist farmer types, you know, I kind of like, okay, I'm not as masculine in that kind of area as these guys. But then I come here and I'm like literally the manliest man on the street. And the women are responding to that.
Right.
And it's like, this is crazy. And I'm like, and I don't care what they say with their mouths, these women are not happy. It's like at a you know, that kind of level, the experience of it, I'm like, dude, this place is crazy. And I don't know why these guys think that I don't know where they're getting this idea from.
Well, like it's still like there's the one of the things like how do you know the woman that was looking at you was a woman in the first place? So I would be quite cautious about it. And
how do I know that they're a woman in the first place?
Exactly.
No, just to that point. This is really strange here, is that, you know, like that's a great question because, you know, a lot of times I'm like double and triple taken. I'm like, is this a man or a woman? Like this whole trans kind of thing. It's like it's gone so it's so pervasive here that it's hard to tell. It's hard to tell. The men have so many feminine, like to the extent of like they're wearing makeup and like earrings and everything. But not only are they like presenting the, you know, like here's you and I here. You've got those earrings on and you've got some makeup on you. Right? I'm not wearing any makeup. I don't have any like dangling earrings or anything. But I'll see a couple together and I'm like, is that like a lesbian couple? Is it two women? Is it like, and then the guy will have more kind of a feminine presentation than the woman does. It's crazy. It's like it's you know, you hear these conspiracy theories about the transhuman thing or about the atrazine, you know, making the friggin' frogs turn gay, you know, affecting people. But like the depolarization here is incredible.
Yeah, I can see all the photos that you know the way while you were walking there, and like basically in every window, most of the windows, you have these like funny flags and drag queens or whatever. It's just like it sounds more like a Sodom and Gomorrah, you know, everybody just do whatever they want.
That's
And
literally what I've been thinking while I've been here.
mhm.
Yeah.
So whoever is a whoever has those propensities to by nature, it will be easy for them to fall into that.
Mm-hmm.
And for whoever is a kind of like the nature of being quite reserved and saintly, I would say, then they will reject that place. They will be like, there's too much of a kind of like a lusty energy and kind of like a diminished energy. There's no potency in here. They will be like out as much as possible. Yeah, I guess if I look into a the mind of a male from a perspective of a female, it is good to a certain level to a man to have these feminine qualities to it. And what do I mean by feminine qualities? I don't mean makeup and then tight clothes and leggings and you know like some lipstick and whatever.
That's a whole thing here. That's a whole thing. Yeah, it's huge.
Ready in that area, but
yeah,
as you know, in psychology and also in psychology, also in you know the scriptures, you know, males have those feminine qualities and the masculine qualities. And what are the feminine qualities? It's basically you're compassionate, empathetic, understanding.
Speech.
Pardon?
Fine speech.
We can say fine speech.
Let me find it.
Yeah, I think so. That is part of it, but it's more about the nature of that person. You know, the nature being more like a soft and gentle. Yes, and having those aspects of those qualities in a male, it's really because females like to be heard, likes empathy, likes emotion, likes compassion. That's where we get well because you know it's like the more nurturing part of a feminine energy, and it's good. But at the same time, it's good to have like very potent masculine energies in a male. For example, they're quite decisive. They know what they want. They're you know they can use their strength as a male to do many things. You know, building things, carrying things, and those things. It is very attractive when you are a female, of course.
Yeah.
And that is the physical part is quite attractive for a female. The
Can I make
emotional
a
part
statement about that?
Pardon?
Can I say something about that? That just to that one part there. I was thinking about that on the way here, the way back from the Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone, because I was thinking about like how do I make this like in a sense objective rather than just like, oh well, you know, you think that that's bad and or you know you're against that and someone's for it and then who's to say. But I think like this, it's kind of like I see these guys walking around here and they're walking around with women who can lift as much as they can, or maybe even more. There's no sexual dimorphism. Now, the thing is about that is that it's one thing to say like, oh, women can do anything and, you know, women are just as good as men and everything. Well, you know, they're not, you know, they're just different and they have different, there's a range. But the fact of the matter is I can bench more, you know, than a woman can. And I have the capability to develop myself in that area. I can develop myself out to here, whereas a woman can develop herself to here. Now, there might be some like elite powerlifting women who can bench more than I can. There might be, but in generally speaking, I have like a capacity for that that is, I can develop myself in that area more than a woman can.
Mm-hmm.
And so if I don't do that, this was Aristotle. He says, that, it's like a waste if you don't develop yourself, to the full extent of what's possible for you.
Mhm.
So it's kind of like if I see a man and a woman walking together, and the man, he has the capacity, he has the latent potential, the capability to be able to develop his physique to an extent that she can't do. And if he's not doing that, he's just basically, I don't know what to say about that, like wasted what he's been given. In the Bible, there's the story of the talents. That parable, the parable of the talents. No, you don't remember that?
I might have heard that.
He was a rich man, and he was going away somewhere, and so he said to 3 of his servants, "I'll give you some talents to take care of." A talent is a type of a coin. So he gave them these 2 coins each. And was it 3 of them, or were there 2 of them? Anyway, one of them took the money and buried it in the ground for safekeeping. The other one went and invested it. He loaned it out or whatever on some, risky venture, which paid off, and he got the money back. And by the time the landowner, the master, had come back, one servant had, the guy who had loaned the money out, had increased it to 6 talents. And then the other one still had the 2 that had buried in the ground. So he went and dug them up, and then he got chastised, and cast out for being, or punished or whatever, for being lazy and irresponsible. Whereas the other guy got rewarded for having used it. So in preaching on this, oftentimes Christian preachers will make the connection between the name of the coin, the talent, and the talents that we have, that we're given by God, and that, you got to use them.
For sure.
If you're given the ability for something, then you use it in Krishna's service, in the service of the Lord. And so when I see these guys who are like artificially suppressing or neglecting the capabilities that they have as men, and then taking on these personas of women, there's just absolutely, it's objectively a waste of what they have and their potential. And then I know that the women are not satisfied with it. I can see it. And also from living on the farm and seeing how those animals, how the animals are there, I'm like, nah, don't tell me that they like that. I just don't believe it.
Yeah, I guess the choices are quite slim there, unless you know what you want, unless you know what your values and your principles are, then you won't be in that situation, you see. Now, if they are okay with the situation, then I guess also it's a feminine potential lost. Because the life, if we look back, like what do you do with a life like that? Like, let's imagine, I'm gonna put myself an example. I have a husband and he's too feminized. To extend it would be okay with me, but I think it will be just a friendship relationship where it's just like what is it called, living together.
Yeah, it's like a gay girlfriend, like a gay.
We're just friends, it's good to be friends because we get along to a certain level, and I'm okay with you to dress up with your boots and your brow or your lipstick. I was like, okay, but there isn't like this, this energy of like creation, that energy of like fulfillment, that energy of like discovery, and like a fulfillment. I would say fulfillment as a female. Speaking as a female myself and having a lot of feminine energy, I liked the male to be actually male. And what do I mean when a male is a male? To me, it's like the energy of male is like really good at decision making. They're risk takers, but at the same time, they have to be like know what they're doing, and judging the situation and discussing the situation. It's very masculine, like very rational, making a very rational decisions, and it's very, very attractive. But at the same time, I like the masculine power that is attractive, that they are able to do things like carry things, build things, and it's like, wow, this is awesome to have. It's kind of inspiring. It takes more your feminine energy. And what is the feminine energy is more like being sweet, nurturing, and providing, making sure everything is running nice. The house is nicely decorated, is nicely, perfume or whatever you call, like scented, or like very a livable place, a place that is a pleasure for my husband, also for my children. They feel like more like it's a gentle place. Yeah, but at the same time, it's nice for the feminine energy to feel the feminine energy in a male.
Yeah.
They bring forward like this compassionate, empathetic, calm, and composed, you see. So then you balance yourself. There's a balance between the two energies. Very balanced. As otherwise it becomes quite imbalanced, and everyone just becomes a little bit too dry or too aggressive or too distant, or so it's just a lot of things. And I guess when you don't have that, then females, mostly because they are quite protective when it comes to family raising or children. They're quite protective, so if they don't see a husband being able to provide in that sense, becoming self-sufficient, and so it becomes like, okay, there's nobody else that can do this job. Then I have to resource myself as a feminine person to take into the masculine part of myself. Decision making things, projects, and this and that. I have to resource into that, because the feminine part, the females want security. We like stability. And we want our generation, our children, to be stable, to be protected, to be cared for. And if a male cannot provide that stability, it cannot provide this consistency, then who else is going to do? It's left to the female.
Yeah.
And that is the unfortunate thing these days. Many males are becoming more like maybe feminized, or maybe more aggressive, because they are not into this. They're not balancing themselves between their feminine energy or qualities and the masculine qualities. So what they do, they go into this mode of being aggressive, being despotic, and being like very abusive, because there is an imbalance in them. So it comes as well with the female. The female becomes more into the masculine side, and the aggression comes, and they're being basically left to defend, left to protect. And in order for you to be protective and defend your children, you have to become someone else that you're not meant to. You know what I mean? Because someone else counts, it's dependent on you. And that means those children that are absolutely dependent on you, absolutely vulnerable.
Yeah. So I got a couple of points here from what you're saying.
Yeah, right. Go ahead.
Like you have more of what people would call a traditional or a conservative kind of worldview, or, take on that. You're a Latina, South America, Latin America, more traditional family values, right? That's one thing I notice here, is if I see people from like Mexico or, South America, Central America, they're different. There's a different reaction, because there's like all these like micro kind of like negotiations that take place, as you see people in the street or whatever. How I said before, the women are not happy. the Latin women here, they seem mostly just plugged into the same kind of thing. Like I saw a family, you know, walking down the street and everything. And those women, they were settled. They were just settled. These other ones I see, it's like, you know, the other day on Facebook, someone said something to you in a comment and then put like a winking face on it. Did you see that?
Yeah.
And then I said, "What are you doing winking at my wife?"
Right.
Did you see that?
Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, "What are you doing winking at my wife?" Because
Right.
that's just like a natural reaction. It's like, "Hey, what are you doing winking at my wife?"
Mm-hmm.
Here, I walk down the street and then I see this couple and I'm looking at them and I'm trying to figure out what's going on, right? I'm looking at them and then the woman is looking at me. And I can feel that, like, okay, she is not settled. And then I'm looking at the guy and I'm trying to figure out what's going on. I'm like, what is this? Is this like a gay friend or something? And I'm like, nah, this is like, these guys are like an item, a couple. And then the guy, instead of being like, hey, what are you looking at? Or something like that, not even necessarily saying it, but just having that energy, you know? Like he doesn't have that energy. Instead, what he does is he turns to her and kind of like lays his head on it or something and is kind of like, do you still like me? Like that. I'm like, what is this? So it's crazy. I can't believe the extent of it. Okay, so another two things on this to build on it. Man, the propaganda is so heavy here. It's incredible. It's crazy. You know how you're saying about the flags? I'm like, this is nuts. If you turn that flag into like a swastika flag or something, that's what you're looking at here. Why are these flags like legit everywhere and everything? It's a massive, it's like the country has just been occupied by an invading army and then they've stuck their flag up everywhere. You know, you wouldn't even in the most conservative places see everybody flying the American flag to that extent. Or maybe you would, I don't know. But it's like, it's intense in your face. In order for you to maintain, like you said at the beginning, someone to retain their frame would probably have to, there's only two ways to do it. You'd have to either leave or you have to vigorously push back. I would be like, if I was here, we'd just be chanting nonstop all the time, just vigorously asserting the supremacy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Vishnu, through the chanting of his holy names. Otherwise, you know, I'm leaving at the end of this week and you know, thank Krishna for the way that I booked my ticket where I'm like, I'm not here on the weekend or anything. I'm just like in and straight out. And then here's the last point about this. You know how you talked about this need for protection and you know, for this masculine energy. You know what's been done here to these people is that they've all been feminized, and so you know where they get their protection from?
They're women.
No, from the state.
Right.
They've been now. That's why, you know, even when you saw that CHAZ, the first one, where you saw the people there, you saw them all wearing their like super gay masks, right? Rainbow colored, you know, super colorful, everything kind of masks. They were like all about it, you know. They've been conditioned to accept the state propaganda and the state, you know, whether it's the pharmaceutical, the medical, industrial, you know, the propaganda. Because here it's a corporate fascist kind of fusion between the government and the corporations. The corporations and the state are their protectors. That's where the masculine energy lies here in this society. Men have been all emasculated.
Well, in a sense, it's a choice for them, you know. I imagine this is also a theme for the feminine, because if you're in an environment, let's say, it takes only time for someone to turn like the others.
Yeah.
And how do you become like the others is when you constantly influence. when you're constantly hearing, when you're constantly looking, and what to speak feeling. Therefore, everybody else is doing this, so I'm okay because everybody else okay. So they go another one, and it's, slowly people become into this world of like, it's okay for me to be demasculinized, and it's okay for me to be a whatever is happening at that time, being polluted or being you minimize and all of that, because everybody else is minimized there. So it's to be minimized too.
Mm-hmm.
And that goes for both genders, because sooner or later, well, it's not sooner, you can, even when you are going through that process, your mind may be okay with that, your whatever is happening around may be okay with that, but your soul is not okay with that, because it's not aligned with what you actually, your soul, it's about, for who you really are as a person. Therefore, the population, they become kind of like sad, they become angry, they become frustrated, they become confused, they become anxious, they become depressed.
Yeah, that's how the women look. That's how they are.
Well, I guess they only deal with what they have available there, and they don't for what they know at that moment. And when it comes to Krishna consciousness, I guess, that's the power of energizing you, because all of this is about your energy. Like, you can be, physically what do you call, torn up, but if your energy is depleted, people can feel it.
Mm-hmm.
Physicality can be attractive for some time.
Mm-hmm.
But when it comes to the person of the soul, it's basically long term, to the end of your days. So as a Hare Krishna, as a person that is a Christian or living a life that is austere, a life that is chaste, you have you permeate a different type of energy. That's why it's quite attractive when a there's a saintly person. It's quite attractive. They're quite attractive, even though, this is my observation, when I was in India, the saintly people, they're in a very different clothing. They are very humble, and they are very austere, minimal with what they wear, all of that. But there is a potency in these people that is just beyond, you can understand, beyond the like what the gym muscles can give you, beyond like nice Gucci or whatever clothing can give you, or the the infatuation, the perfume can bring you to your brain, to your senses. It's beyond.
Mm-hmm.
So that creates this potent energy in a person. And what is happening right now is people are becoming so depleted of that energy.
Mm.
And they can superficially make themselves look beautiful, and it's nice for them to pamper themselves and look like quite attractive in that sense, but it's not quite lasting. It doesn't have essence. It doesn't have like this heavy, no, not heaviness, I wouldn't say heaviness, but this sense of purity, this sense of like potent attraction. The energy is so high up, it doesn't have that.
Michael McNeese says ojas.
What is ojas?
Ojas tejas.
Mm.
For you.
Yeah, so that's why so many saintly people are quite attractive. Obviously, if you look from a depending which lenses you're looking at.
It says here, ojas is the subtle essence of vital fluids in Ayurveda, responsible for health, vitality, strength, longevity, immunity, emotional well-being, and spiritual growth. So it's kind of like the precursor.
Very material-based thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the spirits, the energy of the spirit, it has like this amazing impact in a person. It's like, what was that? And you can see much like some souls are by nature or by karma, they have this energy where like you come together and you meet them like, oh my gosh, it's unforgettable. You know, the energy is so catching, it's energizing, and it's different. So there are many people with that. But when it comes to saintly people, it's more attractive. Like, you know, spiritual people. And it's not only for females and also for males. You know, males become like, wow, what about this guy? You know, if you look physically to this guy, so he's not that good looking, but it's something about this person that is very attractive. Tell you what it is. But they are like the saints in their soul energy, the pure potency of that soul. Yeah. And unfortunately, that is happening these days with all of these people. You know, they are very depleted, very depleted. Females are depleted. They are more lusty and they're more confused. And males are more lusty, more confused, more angry, more depressed, more anxious, you know, there's so much of like of that energy going on for them. Yeah.
It's like I'm in a city which has only women and children in it. And you know, the only male is the state. And it's interesting because on the way over in Vancouver, I was reading an article which is about the I'll show it to you actually. I'll bring it up and we can have a look at it. Let's have a look at this together. If I search in here and it's called Vaishnavi or something. It was from Krishna. Why can't I search? Oh yeah, it's here. There we go. It's got to be this. Yep, here it is. Okay, so let me share this with you so we can have a look at this together. Present, share screen. 16 days of activism for safer families, valuing family as the cornerstone of our communities. Okay. The ISKCON Vaishnavi Ministry's 16 Days of Activism for Safer Families campaign, running from November 25 to December 10, focuses on cultivating healthy family systems and community cohesion by bringing together ISKCON's top devotee experts to address a wide range of family-related issues. The campaign's goal is to spark change, nurture empathy, and create a future where every family feels secure and supported. Strong family values are pivotal for resilient communities, says Radha Dasi, one of the campaign organizers, ISKCON's international Vaishnavi minister, and a Harvard Law School graduate. Much of her work helps people navigate the complexities of family violence, intertwining legal, spiritual, and cultural insights. Her service emphasizes the integral role of protecting vulnerable groups, particularly women and children, for authentic human culture and community prosperity. The 16 Days of Activism for Safe Families stands as a crucial period dedicated to advocating for the elimination of all forms of violence within families. It's a call to unity, empathy, and tangible change, a plea for individuals, organizations, and communities to stand together in solidarity against every form of abuse. Over the 16 days of the campaign, the focus will be on engaging in conversations, initiating awareness campaigns, and driving initiatives that prioritize safety, support survivors, and challenge the norms perpetuating violence within families. It's an opportunity to initiate change, nurture empathy, and lay the foundation for a future where every family feels secure and supported, Radha Dasi says. The campaign has garnered broad support from devotees and is co-sponsored by over 20 devotee organizations from around the world. Expert speakers will explore topics like why this is an important conversation for ISKCON, cultivating a culture of protection, promoting a culture of support, advice I'd give my son, advice I'd give my daughter, what is real ahimsa, mutual respect, the heartbeat of safer families, and building a circle of safety. All sessions were pre-recorded, will be available for viewing on the ISKCON Vaishnavi Ministry YouTube channel and released according to the timeline below. So these two actually should be out now. Why is this an important conversation in cultivating a culture of protection? Advice I'd give my son, Ravenel Chambers. He doesn't have any children though.
That's something that, like, people have theoretically, they understand many whatever articles they read, but when it comes in the real life, when you're dealing with that son, it's completely different. It is.
Oh yeah, I will tell you that.
It's
Yep. Let me go on to the next half here. An amazing lineup of speakers and topics. Ultimately, a society's resilience is deeply connected to the strength of its families. Embracing and nurturing strong family values helps build resilience, unity, and long-lasting prosperity. It creates a future where everyone feels comfort, encouragement, and a sense of belonging, a testament to the enduring impact of family ties in a flourishing society, Radha Darcy noted. Addressing family violence demands a unified community effort. Establishing support networks, implementing prevention programs, and fostering a culture of zero tolerance for violence are essential steps toward healing. By recognizing the far-reaching impact of family violence and taking collective action, communities can reclaim their integrity and create safer, more resilient environments for all. Addressing abuse requires courage and a commitment to open dialogue. These conversations serve as beacons of hope and support for those affected by abuse. By normalizing discussions around abuse, society can erode the stigma and shame associated with it, paving the way for early intervention and prevention. Open conversations about abuse also prompt societal action, advocating for policy reforms and resource allocation for support services. They educate individuals on recognizing signs of abuse, fostering a proactive community that offers assistance and protection to those in need. Come join hands with us as we embark on this journey together, knitting a fabric of safety and respect within our families and communities, invited Radha Darcy. Let's unite in making these 16 days a beacon of hope, advocacy, and positive change, a shared dedication to crafting a world where safe, thriving families take root and violence has no place. For the latest information about the campaign, click on the following links. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. You may also visit the ISKCON Vaishnavi Ministry website. See a list of event co-sponsors in graphic below. I have a conspiracy theory about this.
What?
As I read this, analytically, I see that there are various categories that are created there. So the categories that are used to describe something constitute the context. You know, if I'm talking about like the protesters and the police, immediately I've set up a scenario, right? Or if I say the criminals and the police, the illegal protesters, you know, I've created categories and divided people. I'm not talking about, people. I'm talking about protesters. And so that defines, a large part of the conversation that's then possible. When I read that article, I hear them talking about women. I heard them specifically mention women. I heard them specifically mention children. I never heard them once mention men. Not once.
I guess they're not important.
But I did hear them talk a lot about abuse and violence. I didn't hear them once advocate that men are responsible for protecting women and children. It's like some kind of undefined kind of community or systems are meant to do it. So to me, just from reading that article there, the context I detect there is that men are the problem, they're violent and abusive, and women and children need to be protected from them by the state, basically.
Right.
That's what I read in here. Every
I guess
family feels secure and supported.
I guess the thing they need to add it here, and it will be good kind of feedback. Well, I guess you have to listen all of these discussions
Yeah.
from single people and some married people.
A unified community effort, support networks, prevention programs, culture of zero tolerance. You know, and then it mentioned here in the first half, it mentions dun, dun, dun. If I go like this and say women, there, protecting vulnerable groups, particularly women and children. See, her service emphasizes the integral role of protecting vulnerable groups, particularly women and children, for authentic human culture and community prosperity. But if the vulnerable groups are the women and the children, then the only other group that can protect them are men. Or what? Like, what are they? What's this other category? You know, this other category that protects them is not men. It's something other than men, systems, you know, the state, basically.
Right.
And then men never get mentioned at all. But then there's all this talk of abuse and violence towards these vulnerable groups who are women and children. And since men never get mentioned, and then there's some undefined thing that's, to me, it just sounds like the toxic masculinity is the problem, and the solution is the state. That's my theory.
Yeah, sorry to cut you off here. I guess this program, because it's Vaishnavi thing run, you know, it's more females, you know, it's all about a woman, it's all about children.
Mhm.
And because vulnerable and both of them are vulnerable, and who suffers are both groups, like the lady and the children, which I can agree with that.
Mhm.
But this is more like a one way of seeing things. They're only focusing in that, you know. I guess the other thing, or the group that can be created is Vaishnava.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's what I thought when I read it.
The Vaishnava role, to be more exact with that, we can actually create that one. You know, you can actually create that. You know, Vaishnava.
Why is there no Vaishnava ministry then? If there's a Vaishnavi ministry, why is there no Vaishnava ministry where they say our role as men is to protect women and children?
That's because it's waiting for us to create that.
Okay. Yeah.
You know, there's opportunity in here.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a time where basically it's a new. It's good to be aware what is abuse. It's good to be aware what are the vulnerable groups that are more prone to abuse. But the other side of the story to create a balance is like, what is the role of a man? What is the role of a woman?
Yeah.
Where does the imbalance goes? And what do we do about this? And then what is the prevention or the strategies we create in order for this role to be powerful in what they're doing?
It's philosophically inconsistent. You can't say that women are and men are equal and the same, and at the same time women are vulnerable. And the way that they've worded that, where men are excluded from it altogether, the only role that men got in that was that they're abusers and perpetuators of violence on vulnerable groups. They were never created in there as protectors.
Well, your role is to what is that called? That's what I understand. The role of a man these days is just to procreate, and the role of a woman now is to protect. Unfortunately, it's becoming to like that culture.
What's interesting, what you pointed to, because you know, I see and very conscious of the feminization of men and the lack of protection, and you know, but then you pointed to emasculated men actually become violent.
Because you know why they become, let's say, the nature of a man, because they're more, what do you call, they have more nature of aggressiveness and violence, because you know the energy they have, physical energy they have, is more than a woman. And for a male, it's for them to be in control, to be in charge, to be in leadership, to be listened, to direct. And that is what it makes a man, because that is the ego of the male. This is it's like the sweetness for them to survive, to be identified themselves as a male. And if that is being attacked by from different ways, then you're going to feel like uncomfortable with that. You may not even notice. And that is the thing about, like, studying the psychology of males. They're not really good at self-introspecting themselves, and they're not really good at expressing themselves, talking about it, how they feel. They're not good at it. That is of males. That doesn't
naturally, no.
We can say, with this one, it's not like a sentence they cannot. It's just a way. It just requires new style of bringing your children, especially males, how to express yourself as a male. How to be more aware of your feelings and your emotions as a male, and how you direct those energies. So there is a new education system that has to be brought up into a Grihastha family, where the parents actually are trained to do that. So if you're feeling attacked in that way and you don't know exactly, you cannot make sense about it. Something is happening, but you don't know what is happening. So you become more kind of like confused. You don't know how to express. You don't know how to be self-aware, and that becomes like more aggression. The aggression of males, it started becoming more up and up. And all of this attack, obviously, it's like it's attack to who you are as a male, as a masculine. And naturally, you will become more aggressive, and you will become more violent. But the power of a male, where it lies, of a power of a male, is that you are more composed in a triggering or in a very critical situations. You are composed. We can compare. We can give a big example here. For example, this is a fighting. What do you call this? Boxing.
Yeah.
Some people are more like out there, more mouth, more words. I'm gonna do this and show off. I'm angry and I'm powerful, so I have to show you that I'm angry in order for me to show you that I'm powerful. While the other guy is just like observing, but not getting intimidated, not being affected by it. Because that male knows, like, your emotions are running like a female in your brain, and you want to show me that you're powerful. But where it lies the power of a man is when they're composed and just observe. And then while they're fighting, they're doing. The other guy is just measuring, it's just assessing, and then bam, they're gone. So I would say that guy is more powerful because he's more measured. And I would say that guy is an alpha male for me. That is just my personal opinion. It's an alpha male. Because you don't mess with that guy, because that guy is just like observing you, very quiet, very composed. And bam, it will really give you your message. So that is the thing with these days, with some the masculine energy is in disarray. It's unbalanced, unfortunately. It's very unbalanced. And that could be due, if we start dissecting that, it's not only of the culture of being a male that is affecting that, also the culture of where you grow.
Yeah.
Your parents are influencing you in every way possible, because this is the way where, this is your what do you call this one? The central area for you to grow, to become.
There's literally no way that the Vaishnavi ministry can solve this? Because anything that they generate is going to be feminized. If you don't have a reaction to reading that, you've been emasculated. You're like, hang on a second. Why you are saying this? Like, in other words, I read that and I'm just like, this is filled with disrespect for me as a man. It completely disrespects me.
Mm-hmm.
It does not acknowledge, it doesn't even acknowledge my existence. There's absolutely no way that, see, any man who follows that now without just being like, hey, what is going on here, is so emasculated himself that he has no role to offer in there. He's following the leadership of women.
I guess so. In a way, I guess females can be leaders in their own way, with their own nature. But when it comes to the male world, and that is the thing as well, when you come to be, as a mother myself, I know how to raise a girl, how to be feminine, but still be able to do things and be tactical and strategic and all of that. And when it comes to a male, it is good that they are very, composed and all of these qualities of a male. I would do that from an early age.
Mm-hmm.
Because I know that as a female, I know that like the role of a male is very important, absolutely important for the generation to come.
Mm.
And raising a male child, and with a sense of like being independent and being like, composed, being observant, strategic, and, observe your emotions and how you deal with your emotions, express your emotions or your feelings in a way that could be non-violent. It's a very powerful way to raise a child. Because these days what's happening, it's like, don't do that, don't do that. Because male energy is more like out there, they want to experience, they want to risk, and they want to do that. Mm-hmm. And when a mother says like, don't do that and don't do that, it's like, okay, why are you saying that person don't do that? And it's like getting growl and growl and growl. It's more, okay, what are you doing? Perhaps this is happening, do it this way, and let the person understand.
Mm-hmm.
There's more directing a child. So in that way, there's a new generation growing with a sense of like, this is my purpose in life and this is my role in life, very secure of themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And a female is growing with a sense of like, my role is this and this is what I'm meant to be doing as a female.
Mm.
And many times in our discussions, you say, like female should be this, should be that in this sense, like I'm looking after the children, helping in the household, bringing this essence to the house of making like livable and like a brain and peaceful. The energy.
I rarely say should be like this or like that. Like in terms of those things, you as a female, more naturally, it's like, who's going to be better at deadlifting? It's going to be me. Who's going to be better at decorating the house? It's going to be you. It's just like, it's not like a should be. It's just like a kind of recognizing what is,
Yeah, it's recognizing what is, and the should is more about use what you are good at according to your nature in your area.
Yeah.
In that way, the should, I'm using it. Not to, to tell them what to do.
That's what Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, sway sway kamanya birata samsiddhim labate para. Every man can attain perfection by following his own qualities of work. every person. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a lot of things to be done, when it comes to this. We can actually create this Vaishnava group, all males, and in that way, the teaching would be what are the masculine energy or males are dealing with, and how to navigate with that, how to work with that. So although they may be in their age of 30, 20, 40, whatever, they still have this potential to learn how to manage life in a male body.
I don't know about some huge top-down, ministry of Vaishnavas. I mean, this Vaishnavi ministry of Vaishnavis. But yeah, like grassroots kind of thing. Start from the bottom. Produce small local results out of things. And go from there.
Even a personal life, it's a personal life is an example.
Yeah.
For example, like I'm whatever you can say, you can start, you're the leader in here, because your role as a way of teaching people, also you're learning. There is like a symbiotic relationship.
Mm-hmm.
So we can start with like, what, I'm a father of 2, or I'm dealing with this,
Yeah.
and I want to learn how to deal in a different way. And many people, many males will resonate with you because they're males. You guys think as a males, as a guys.
Mm-hmm.
So there is something. It is a commonality there.
Start another podcast and call it Vaishnava Ministry. The Ministry of Vaishnavas. The other one is called whatever it's called. The ISKCON Vaishnavi Ministry. It's called Vaishnava Ministry.
I
Well,
think
can't
that
call it ISKCON, but
I wouldn't like to. It is, if I was a male, I wouldn't like to be in this push group. You are male, you can deal with your crap. I don't even know how to deal. I don't even know what my emotions are.
I know, even if they, because they have identified the, if you will, the issue. It's men who are not operating correctly.
Exactly.
But they haven't like created that, here's the proper role, and it's like, here are the vulnerable groups, women and children. Well, who does that leave to protect them then? Men. But that's not the solution that they have. Because the obvious thing then is, okay, if that's the issue, then we need a Vaishnava ministry. We need to provide this. But instead, it's like we need systems to protect them from these defective men. And so what we're left with is that men are fundamentally dangerous to women and children, which is the propaganda, the toxic masculinity propaganda out here, and the feminization of men is the solution to that. And so I see this push here inside ISKCON, and this has been something that I've been seeing for some time, is intrinsically connected to the philosophy behind what's going on here in Seattle. The two things are connected. They're part of the same agenda with the same driver behind them. Yeah, that's my conspiracy theory.
Yeah, people, if I observe males, they're also vulnerable.
Mm-hmm.
They're vulnerable or not knowing how to deal with their feelings.
Yeah.
They are vulnerable at not knowing what's happening to them. They cannot make sense of it.
Mm-hmm.
They are vulnerable to be a subject to a criticism. Male should be doing this, male should be doing that, and male should be strong. Yeah, male can be physically strong and also mentally strong. However, male also is a person.
Yeah.
And they have to deal with a lot of things themselves. So where is the support for them?
Yeah, exactly. That's the actual solution. That's the actual solution to the family violence, the breakdown. And it's in the first chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. It says that with the, let's pull it up so I'm not speculating here. Bhagavad Gita, chapter 1. here. Right here. Present. Share the screen. Observing the armies on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. With the destruction of dynasty, the eternal family tradition is vanquished, and thus the rest of the family becomes involved in irreligious practice. When irreligion is prominent in the family, O Krishna, the women of the family become corrupt, and from the degradation of womanhood, O descendant of Rishni, comes unwanted progeny. When there's an increase of unwanted population, a hellish situation is created both for the family and for those who destroy the family tradition. In such corrupt families, there's no offering of oblations of food and water to the ancestors. 140. You know, both women and children require protection by the elder members of the family. Okay, so it's not just men, it's also the elder members of the family.
Yeah, there is a many vulnerable population. You know, the elderly are vulnerable population, male or female.
Yeah, they are, but it says here that they require protection by the elder members of the family. And then just one thing here I wanted to, this is in the Bhagavatam, Srimad Bhagavatam. It's in Canto 4. Find out which one it is. It's 4:26:16. 4:26:16. I sent this to you the other day. I don't know if you read it or not. You didn't respond to anything to it. Kindly let me know the whereabouts of that beautiful woman who always saves me when I am drowning in the ocean of danger. By giving me good intelligence at every step, she always saves me. Purport. There's no difference between a good wife and good intelligence.
Yeah. I think I saw that.
One who possesses good intelligence can deliberate properly and save himself from many dangerous conditions. In material existence, there is danger at every step. In Srimad Bhagavatam 10:14:58, it is said, Padam padam yadvi padam natesham. This material world is not actually a place of residence for an intelligent person or a devotee, because here there is danger at every step. Here we go. Skipping ahead. As already explained, a real wife is dharmapatni. That is, a woman accepted in marriage by ritualistic ceremony is called dharmapatni, which signifies that she is accepted in terms of religious principles. And down here, if one gets a chaste wife, accepted through a religious marriage ritual, she can be of great help when one is threatened by the many dangerous situations of life. Actually, such a wife can become the source of all good intelligence. With such a good wife, the family's engagement in the devotional service of the Lord actually makes a home a grihastha ashram, or household, dedicated to spiritual cultivation.
Who was it, the devotee that gave me that title?
Dharmapatni.
Kirti?
Like Krishna Kirti or someone in that, maybe Vasu Ghosh?
No, Krishna Kirti, I think was the one.
Hang on. I have to plug my computer in because the battery's running out.
Uh-oh. Okay.
Yeah, so to go full circle on the whole thing, there's a relationship between a man and a woman in terms of the masculine and the feminine polarity and the way that they work together. Mm-hmm. So the man protects the woman and the woman protects the man. You know, and that was like one of the reasons why I wanted to have this conversation with you, among other things, because I'm like, what a dangerous environment that I'm in right now, this place, you know? So it's like taking shelter of it's not like that dangerous, but it's a contaminating environment, which is what you pointed to at the beginning. You know, it's like it's an environment that has an effect. And so I find myself every day, I'm going to the gym and like, I actually find myself having like a reaction where I'm angry. I'm just like, what is wrong with you guys? What are you doing? What are you doing? Yeah, pushing back against that. And so there's that protection, and then the intelligence, and then the being able to be empowered by your wife.
Is there any other role for me?
You know, one thing about it is I noticed this, like, from looking at these couples, you know, they're like, the guy is like a gay friend, you know, like a girlfriend. And I can see how, you know, how they kind of get along like friends, you know. But that kind of like the difference between us in terms of the polarity, you know, where there's like, it's the source of, I guess you could call it dramatic tension. You know, there's like that, you know, misunderstanding, you know, and difference, and then that drives the narrative to a degree. Whereas, you know, when you're hanging out with people who understand you and get you, and then you're always just thinking the same way all the time, there's no kind of like a I guess another way of putting it is kind of, you know, what they say about diversity, like, oh, we need to have diversity. You know, we need like diversity, equity, and inclusion. We need a diverse team. And so the thing is that when you have that sexual dimorphism and that polarity, you have that diversity, and it does cause, you know, misunderstanding and some friction, and then you're forced to confront something and figure out, like, okay, you know, what is there for me to learn from this? Or does that make sense?
Well, even if you are compatible, you will never be compatible. That is just the nature of male and female.
We can, if you have like one of these feminized gay kind of girlfriend guys.
Not even. Every single person is completely different. They have their own minds. They are their own person.
Uh-huh.
We'll never say, I am compatible. There are some sense of like an understanding a certain level, and it's more smooth. Yes. But there is always friction in different areas. It is just the nature of the material world and how we are made due to our karma.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, in a sense, yeah, we do have a responsibility to understand and to grow to what we have.
Mm-hmm.
So to understand who you are as a person and what is your makeup as a person. It's a different world to deal with. And it's a different world for you to deal with a female. Because you're not a female. You don't understand my thoughts. You don't understand how I feel. You don't understand. You try to understand.
Mm-hmm.
Try to. The only person I can understand is myself, because you know what you want. You know how you're feeling, and you exactly know what exactly you want at that moment.
Yeah.
Some people doesn't even know that, but anyways. So regardless of, you know, anything, there's always an incompatibility, always. And and even when there is incompatibility, it's a way to work, like what areas you are not, it's not your strong point. And that is basically a self-development. It's an opportunity for self-development.
Yeah.
And that's the greatest thing, to deal with the opposite. How do I understand this completely different human being with their own like mental makeup and their traumas and their afflictions, whatever, flaws? How do I understand this person? And that is the self-discovery. What do I do now? How do I read this person? I'm learning to read the person, you know. Oh, it appears these things triggers this person. What do I do? You know what I mean? It takes a lot of self management.
Yeah.
to not go there. But it's like a muscle we haven't developed. It's a muscle we need to develop, and it's not easy to develop that muscle because the moment you start exercising, you get tired, and then it has to be a constant work,
Yeah.
and that is the beauty of it.
Mhm.
And that's how I'm seeing. How do I develop? Because this is a growth not only for yourself but also for the person you share in your life.
Yeah. So to go kind of full circle, here, when I talk to people individually, I find people here to be extremely helpful, nice, good-hearted, well-intentioned people. And you saw that from looking at, and you saw, the spirit of the people in the CHAZ, and at the same time, when I look at the kind of culture that's developing here, I'm just like, I don't think this is going to work. I don't think this, yeah. I think this is fundamentally misaligned from like biological realities, and that in the long term, this is not going to work. And part of what I can see is happening here is because the men are also becoming feminized, now some third entity, the state, has become the provider, the protector. And that's not Krishna's design. That's one way of saying it. And then another way, if you're an atheist or whatever, it's like now what you've done is you've taken this decentralized system where, yeah, individual men can have a problem, but what the failure of one's not the failure of all of them, to this thing where you replace it with a single entity, which if it comes under the control of dark triad narcissistic psychopaths who rise to power in any structure that gets created by human beings, then you've placed everyone at risk of that. Yeah.
The fortunate thing is the people that have they have a choice. The unfortunate thing is they choose mostly the wrong side.
Well, yeah, the other thing about that is that, the general mass of people are easily led. They're easily misled, and they're also easily led. And we just need more Harinam out here. That's what I see, and that was the lesson that I got from looking at CHAZ when it was happening. I was like, man, the devotees need to be all up, all over this thing. Like when I tune into these live streams from CHAZ, I should just hear Harinam happening there nonstop, like all over the place. Why are the devotees not in there? And so when it happened in New Zealand, I was like, we're doing this. And I made sure that we added the Harinam, the holy name, chanting of the holy name to every protest leading up into that. And then we were right there and just going full out the whole time.
It's purifying, uplifting.
Yeah. The people are they're easily misled, and they're also easily led. You just got to be sufficiently committed.
Commitment.
Yeah. Well, thank you for spending the time with me. It's nearly 2 hours. Must be close to 8 o'clock there.
Yeah, time for dinner.
Oh, tell me about it. I don't know if I'm going to have dinner tonight now. It's like nearly 11 o'clock. By the time I get anything, it'll be close to midnight, And I got like a big day tomorrow. Anyway, I spent my last couple of days here walking around, getting to see the city, observing, making these kind of observations, exploring. And then, hey, here's something else I want to share with you. The 32-hour journey to get here, my hips and my lower back were just like in a lot of pain and like super tight. And I was doing like different kind of exercises and stuff. And, I thought maybe I could get like some Chinese massage or something. And then maybe I could go to see a chiropractor. Then I was like looking for hot yoga classes and all kinds of things. I was like, man, I got to do something about this. You know what happened? I went to Bruce Lee's grave. And then as I was walking back from there, suddenly my hips just went, and now they're just completely fine. And I got this sudden awareness of these muscles deep inside my pelvic kind of area that like stabilize the front of the base of my spine.
Maybe walking is what you need now on.
Yeah, I don't think it was from walking, because I mean I was walking a lot yesterday, and I'm walking like, a lot all the time.
You think was Bruce
Yeah, I do.
give you like a tiny invisible kick to align your hips?
Yeah, exactly. The fact that I rolled up there and it was Bruce Lee's birthday,
Mm-hmm.
and then there's a man there who goes over to Bruce Lee's grave most days. And I was looking for someone because, I set out this morning and I said, I'm going to go out and acknowledge, the participants of CHAZ for their contribution to Wellington. And, I met various people and asked them, and, I told you the story of how I got the Lord and the Shringer Dave put onto the chain. And I asked Siren, who did that, pronouns she, he. That's pretty complicated because Siren had her name tag on and it said pronouns she, her, he, him. And I was like, I thought you only got 2. How come you got 4? And so Siren says, oh, my pronouns are she, he. I wish it just said that. It would be easier for people. I'm like, I don't know if that's easier. But anyway, Siren spent like a bunch of time, getting the right chain for me, cutting it to the right length, fixing the clasp. And then when some customer was there, she was working on it and she's like, I've got to go do this custom. She's like, I'm totally focused on this. This is my purpose in life. That's what she said. Anyway, I asked her if she was at CHAZ and she was like, no, I came here after that. And so, I got to Bruce Lee's grave, and then here's this guy there who tends, to Bruce Lee's graves and to the visitors. And he was welcoming people there. You heard me talking to him and, telling them, hey, it's Bruce Lee's birthday today. And then he was one of the participants in CHAZ. And so I got to acknowledge him. Srila Sridhar Maharaj, Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj, he said, I will not be so bold to say that I've seen God, but I've seen signs along the way and I'm encouraged.
Mm.
Yeah. So then my hips just like completely got like fixed.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
By the power of Bruce Lee.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's amazing. All right.
Okay, concluding remarks.
Concluding remarks. What does it come to my head? Why do you start? I will elaborate my thoughts.
Sure.
Put it together.
Okay, so we covered kind of like maybe 4 things.
Mm-hmm.
The first one was CHAZ and CHOP, the Capitol Hill occupation protest from 2020 and the Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone, and how that mirrors and precedes what happened in Wellington, which is where we met, and how it informed what happened there. And then the second thing was my observation of the extreme feminization of men here in Seattle and the huge gay, trans, propaganda with the flags and everything, like literally just everywhere, shoved down people's throats, and the effect that that's having. My observation that women are not happy with that. And then looking at the Vaishnavi ministries, so that's 3 things. And then the Vaishnavi ministries, 16 days of safe families, and how it, I say that it emasculates men further. Yeah, and that's an undistinguished element of that conversation. And that I think it's diving further into the problem rather than addressing it at its cause. And what we're seeing here is the feminization of men in order to actually remove protection from women and children and from men themselves. And then the replacement of, men as the protectors and providers of families for this kind of like third entity, which is the state. And that my observation that narcissistic psychopaths, dark triad personalities, who are a very small percentage of the human population, they rise to positions of power within any structure that is created. And so the real danger that we're facing now is the replacement of men who are empowered by their wives and by society to protect their families, are now being replaced by an entity which is under the control of psychopaths.
Very unfortunate, yeah. Hmm. I guess I come well my thought, or to wrap it this podcast.
Mhm.
It all comes to the individual level of like who you are as a person,
Mhm.
and working on your values and principles that you follow in life, because this is your guiding map.
Mm.
You know, it doesn't matter where you are. You know, you can be in the protest and people just putting you down. If you know what your values are, you will be like, you know what, this is who I am. What are you going to do about it? You know, no one can change that. And then, even if you are in this world of like, you know, he, she, or she, he, whatever pronouns that you want, if you know what are your values, then you will know actually who you are as a person, what you really want in your life, who you are for the people around you, for the generations, and you know, what is your legacy in this life?
Mm.
What is your purpose in life, and what is the legacy you want to live in this life?
Mm.
And the other thing is like, you know, the role of a male, and the Vaishnavis, and you know, the Vaishnavas. It goes to the individual level now. And if we go back, it goes to the values and your principles. You are Vaishnava, or who are you as a person? What is your purpose in life, and what is your legacy you want to live in this life?
Mm.
And if you are Vaishnavi, it's the same thing. You know, you cannot separate yourself just because you're female. You cannot separate yourself from your values and principles, and what is the purpose in your life, and what is the legacy you want to live in this life. It comes to the individual level. And, you know, it doesn't matter if you're like the most beautiful lady and everybody's kissing your feet. Doesn't matter. What are your principles, and what are your values? And it is the same for a male. You know, all the ladies like me and they're dying for me. It's like, and what is your legacy? What is your purpose in life? Do you know that? No, you don't. Then it's like, there's nothing exciting about it, except for a temporary entertainment of a nice figure, and that's it. What is the substance of you that you want to live in this world, and people can actually see you as an example? You know what I mean? So it's all individual. It comes to the individual level. And that also comes, you know, like we were talking about, like the differences between male and female, differences between ourselves, you know, your own culture, my own culture, my female makeup and your male makeup. That comes to individual thing, you know, the relationship. What is your legacy you want to leave, and your wife to admire you for? And as a female, what is the legacy you want to leave, and the something that your husband is going to admire you for?
Mm.
Your children. So everything comes to an individual level. It doesn't matter where we are. It doesn't matter you know, and what body we are. But if we don't know who we really are, of course we are spirit souls. But there's more beyond that, you know. Then we're going to be in a world where we're going to be confused. We don't know what we're doing. We don't know where we're going. And life, it just becomes like a spiral of like depression, anxiety, confusion, anger, frustration. And what is your legacy?
Mm. Well, thank you for being my Dharma Patni, my religious wife. And here's what I admire you for. I admire you for dedication, devotion, faithfulness, and loyalty.
Yeah, do you remember them?
Yeah. And I love
Yeah.
it.
No. Hearts, corazones. Thank you. I guess that is my life to live in this world, where how do I serve the other person?
What other person?
I mean, in general, how do I serve another person? In this context of a relationship, is how do I serve my husband? How do I serve my daughter? How do I serve my son? How do I serve my sister, my mom, my brothers? Who I am for them? What is my strength in this lifetime that I can use it to serve them? And I have to use that. And as a person myself, it's like, I get to understand myself of like who I am in a relationship. What's very important in a relationship with your husband, with your children. And this is my values in a relationship. And it has to be respected. It has to be protected. As otherwise, it's like a destruction of who I am as a person. It affects me if anything is violating or contaminating to those values. It's basically affecting me personally, who I am as a person. So therefore, your values are who you are as a person. And I cannot allow anything to violate, to disrupt, contaminate those values. I cannot. It is just so simple in life. You don't do anything that can, the word just escaped my mind.
Violate.
No, there's another one.
Compromise.
Compromise. Insult. And then when you live according to that, which obviously you're going to be like basically attacked every place you look around, every voices that you hear, you feeling like attack, especially in Kali Yuga. So we have to be true to who we are, to ourselves. And then you have some sense of like, confidence. You have essence. You know who you are. So anything that attacks that is like, I know who I am. You are very clear about it. And it's more important to live in life that you are more genuine. You are quite respectful to yourself in that sense. It took me many years to come to that realization. Many years. And I love it because those many years behind me were years that weren't easy. And it brought me to who I am as a person, It kind of polished, I said. It polished who I am. So yeah. And I appreciate for who you are as a person. True to justice, you like justice. Righteousness. And I admire that. I really admire that.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I'm struggling with here. Like if I look at you in this picture here, I can see, the painting behind you is like this, and then because of the way the camera is, the lens and everything, the door is over here and it's on a funky angle.
Oh, sure. Sorry.
No, it's okay. I'm
Okay.
using this as an analogy to point to something here is like my experience of people,
Mm-hmm.
you know, of people and people here. You know, I talk to them and, you know, Siren's got her thing on with the pronouns and it's like he, her, she, him. What? He, him, she, her. And she's like, I use he, she pronouns. I'm like, dude. Oh my God. You know? And then all these feminized people. But then when I talk to each individual person, they're fundamentally good. They're well intentioned. You know, they're a person who wants the best for everyone. You know, like the guy on the barricade, you know, he had his rainbow kind of mask thing on and he was like, yeah, I'm just here on the barricade and, you know, we're not stopping anyone from coming in.
Mm.
You know, and so there's that. And then at the same time, there's this other thing that's present there that I'm just like, if I walk down the street for people to understand, to get a sense of it, and saw those flags here that are flying, that they were the, you know, the Third Reich swastikas flying everywhere, the effect for me is the same. I'm like, the same thing is going on, the same thing is being done to the people here. And they're being manipulated into acting in a way that is against their own personal interests, and they're not happy while they're doing it, but they're doing it because they think they're doing the right thing. You know, they're doing it because they're good, kind-hearted people. And so there is something happening here that is unrighteous. You know, like you said, it's like Sodom and Gomorrah. And it's kind of like burn the whole thing, the city to the ground, you know? But I love the people.
Mm.
And so I'm struggling with those two things being in the same place, you know?
Mm. Yeah, I guess this experience that you're having will help you to notice that how much karma has a lot of say in people, and how much our choices destroys ourselves. And that is the thing, when you don't know who you are prone to be misled.
Yeah.
And you are prone to be mistreated.
That was something that in the first live that I did from here yesterday, I pointed that out, you know, that it's a moral decay here. And moral, I don't just mean that in like some kind of like Christian kind of like, oh, sinful activity type thing. It's very much connected to morale. The morale of the people is low. And when I say that I see that, you know, the way the micro interactions, that the women are unhappy, the men are unhappy, their morale is low. And fundamentally what it's connected to is who people think they are and what they think the goal of life is. That's the fundamental moral question. The morals of the society are fundamentally based on who people understand themselves to be, or what they understand themselves to be, and what they understand the goal of life to be.
Mm.
Yeah.
That's why we need more Harinam.
Yeah, exactly. You know, when I come here, I hear devotees criticizing the Democrat-run cities. They're terrible. They're this, that, and the other thing. And I'm like, swoop in here and just like provide the leadership. This place, you know, like CHAZ was like the summer of love, you know? It was like the Bowery. Wasn't it? It was like San Francisco 67. All it needed was for the devotees to go in there and do Harinam. When we did the chanting in Parliament occupation, I was like, this is what Prabhupada did. He just came and sat down under a tree and just started chanting, and it all happened from there. And I was like, I'm seeing what Prabhupada was seeing. I'm sitting here and chanting and seeing the people, and I'm getting to see what Prabhupada saw. And here it's the same thing. I go outside into the street there. It's like I'm in, you know, San Francisco in 67 or the Bowery in the Lower East Side in New York. And so, yeah, we got to get out there and do more Harinam. Let me see if I can organize something this week.
For sure.
While we're here. Okay. thanks for spending the time with me. I appreciate it.
Thank you for spending the time with me too.
Yeah.
Far away.
Yes. Okay. Have a great dinner. I've finished chanting my rounds. I've done all my exercise. I've completed all of my vows for the day. So
Awesome.
I'm going to take rest now.
Yeah, you deserve one. And have a really good evening or night, sleep, dreams.
Yeah. Okay.
And Krishna.
Hare
Krishna. Oh.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna,